Live on SportsGrid, we've got pro football today with you. I'm Kevin Walsh. I am with Joe Lisi. So much to get into from a jam-packed Sunday. Joe, I want to get right into it. We see it every single year. A lot of times we see it twice, Kansas City and Buffalo. In Buffalo, in the regular season, once again, it is the Josh Allen-led group that get it done. 273 yards in the air, 3 total touchdowns for Josh Allen. What was your biggest takeaway as the Bills win and cover under here in a big spot against Kansas City in week number 9?
Same old story, right? Bills can win in the regular season, and in the playoff type of situation, that's where potentially you have to hold your breath if you're a Buffalo Bill fan. But, you know, we talked about it in the pregame that Kansas City was a red-hot football team. They had won 3 straight by an average margin of victory of 21.6 points per game. The injury prior to the game of Ed Oliver, I thought a lot of people thought that Buffalo wouldn't be able to sustain or contain Pat Mahomes in that offense, and it was quite the contrary. The front seven forced them into long, predictable third downs. We saw James Cook take over the game with the rushing attack, and Josh Allen was his consistent self in a big spot in the regular season, and that's why Buffalo won that matchup.
I think for the Bills, I know that there is this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but probably not kidding, let's lose to them in the regular season. It'll be a reverse in the postseason. But it was important for Buffalo to get this one, as they are still competing for the top of that division with the New England Patriots team that handled business against Atlanta, albeit a very close affair. It's a Buffalo Bills team that the 1 seed is certainly still up for grabs within the AFC. And the Bills are actually now the favorites, Joe, to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. So that is what they've allowed themselves here with that victory. I don't think in anything that we saw, though, we go, oh, yeah, Buffalo's way better. At least not for me. To me, it was about the spot. I was someone who bet Buffalo because Buffalo was a home dog in Orchard Park.
Right.
If you flip that game location-wise, I'm not, oh, yeah, I must bet the Bills. Now, again, number depending. I'm not saying they couldn't have won. I don't feel markedly differently about the Bills coming off of the game. How do you feel about Kansas City, though, who do now sit 5-4 through 9 weeks, but still sit as the Super Bowl favorite?
Yeah, I can't believe that. And again, I think the biggest takeaway from me, Kev, is the fact that I don't believe their defense is as elite as maybe people perceive it to be. And we have talked about, you know, teams exploiting them, Jacksonville, Detroit, even though Detroit lost that game. If you have playmakers at every level, running backs that could catch the football out of the backfield like Buffalo and the Eagles and Detroit and some of the other teams, you could put pressure on this team, especially when you have multiple options and you have a quarterback that can run like Josh Allen. It's always the ability to exploit this team from a defensive perspective, I think goes unnoticed. I think everybody went into this game and said Kansas City has an elite defense, and we have question marks about the Bills because they lost 2 straight games before the win against Carolina. And, you know, is this the same team having that home dominance? And they showcased that in the matchup. And I think the biggest thing that when you see it is that James Cook was able to rush for over 100 yards. We've seen teams be able to run and throw on this team now throughout a 9-game stretch here. And if we do get to a playoff type of situation, yeah, Pat Mahomes has the weapons, but the defense might start to be regressing just a little bit. And that's why I don't think they're a dominant team overall anymore.
Well, the reality for Kansas City is, and what I will agree with you wholesale, they can be had. Right? There is no world someone could argue the contrary, that they are not vulnerable. If you believe they are the best team in the league, I think there is a conversation there. But there is no conversation that they are an unbeatable group. What I think is so fascinating, though, is they sit right now at 5-4 Super Bowl favorites, not only third place in their division, they are outside of the playoff picture, Joe, and are currently winless against the teams who are in the AFC playoff picture.
Right.
Now, where Kansas City is puffing their chest out are their home victories against Detroit and Baltimore. That is where the Kansas City Chiefs have garnered a lot of their respect in the market, and I'm not trying to downplay those wins. Those are good wins. So we have seen Kansas City can absolutely beat whoever you think the best team is. If you don't believe it is them, but they can be had. And that is something that I was attempting to set up. We didn't know who was going to be on the losing side, right? We both thought it would be Kansas City. With this loss, the Chiefs are an inverse of something we see every year in the league, which is a team who you look at their record and you think to yourself, fine, they're going to be in, but they're not that good. And they're going to get got, right? Last year's Vikings, this year's Colts, perhaps. Kansas City, if they are in the playoffs, Joe, will be dangerous. But we now have to figure out if they will be in the playoffs. They're the Super Bowl favorite and have shorter odds to miss the postseason as you and I sit here right now.
Right, but let me ask you this. Do you feel after this 5-4 record, 9 weeks, 10 weeks of the regular season, that their defense is as dominant as it was last year?
But the offense is better than prior seasons.
Right, but you used to be able to go into a playoff situation and say, no matter what the offense gives you, that defense will be able to keep you in games because of how good Spagnuolo is and how good that personnel is.
Yeah.
And now Bills put up 28, Jacksonville put up 30+, Detroit moved the football. L.A. in week 1 abused that defense. So we've seen multiple teams in the conference now challenge them. So if they go up against the likes of Buffalo or even, let's say, Denver or L.A., in a playoff type of situation, are we as sitting here on the desk and saying, that defense is going to show up the way they did over the past 3 years, and Pat Mahomes will find a way to steal it? You can't say that anymore.
No. I couldn't agree with you more.
And that's why I have question marks. The fact that they're the front runners to win a Super Bowl, the books have to do that because they can't put them, where are you going to put them? If you're asking me, the Eagles should be first. They're the defending champs.
They should.
But they get no love in the market for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's foolish that they're not.
But that's the point, though.
But with Kansas City, and this is why, and I will continue, I don't care. I will keep doing the I told you so stuff to people.
And you were right.
Every single, Mahomes would go out there and play subpar, and be like, it's fine. The allure to this team is great Mahomes, who has a top 5 QBR. The rush work's been great. I mean, I got to tell you, Lise. So yesterday was the first time in his NFL career under 50% completion.
Right.
He threw for 250 yards and 7.4 a pass. They were hitting explosives when they were hitting.
Yeah.
Right? So there is something to that draws people in. But I wholly agree with you that defense can be had. Undeniably, the question becomes within the top of this conference. We're going to get into this.
Yeah.
How many teams do you trust to take advantage of that defense? Buffalo, Baltimore, if they're there, how much further does that extend is one of the biggest questions in football.
I think Denver's up there now after their win over Houston. I know it wasn't pretty, but the way Denver's playing, and obviously when Surtain comes back from the torn chest muscle, I think they'll solidify their secondary much more. But I believe in Denver now. I believe in a mentality and an identity. The problem that I have with Kansas City, too, is on top of their defense, 3 of 13 on third down conversions. Pat Mahomes is explosive, but the offense now is switched. Last year, they were more methodical. They wanted to sustain drives. They wanted to use at least a hint of a rushing attack. Now it's just we're going back to Texas Tech, 5 wide, forget the rushing attack, and we're going to chuck it all over the yard. But when you give a little pressure up front to Pat Mahomes, he struggled this year, and we've seen that.
Oh, that is...
But that's the point
it's
now.
It's the story of his career.
And there is no dominant rushing attack to take this over in the postseason. That's another cause of concern.
Kansas City hits a bye. They come off of that bye at Denver. One of the biggest games of the NFL season. That will, though, be in week number 11. When we talk about the top of the AFC... perhaps we can have a little more honest conversation about the Indianapolis Colts. We'll try. It's next.
You see this team, and they're talking about A.J. Brown still. It's an injury. We want him. Are we going to ship him? this situation has to play out in the sense of, I think he wants to be there, but at the end of the day, you can't disrupt the locker room every single week. And the Eagles need him to be there if they're going to make a Super Bowl run.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The playoff matchups for Asher Genty are not great. We start to look ahead. I know it's early, but it's not that early. So Genty, I think, is still a better long-term guy than it is maybe a redraft situation, especially with the schedule maps out. But I don't see a lot of games where he's potentially in a situation where the Raiders are ahead and running the football a ton, if you know what I mean. It's kind of tough out there for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Are they chanting? Is it over? Does
They'll
he
be
accept
gone
the
by
resignation?
halftime. No,
Are they chanting fire, Brian
probably.
and Kelly?
Yeah,
Clap, clap,
it would
clap,
be
clap,
it
clap.
would be warranted. It would be. I mean, you won a national championship in 2019. You're getting top 5, top 10 recruiting classes each and every year. You had the quarterback back to back to back to back. How many more chances are you going to get? I mean, really, what are we doing here?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
One playoff win, and it's been a train wreck in every other year. But if we all agree that he was right in how he handicapped the quarterback talent coming out of that draft, and they got the right guy, and I think we all do agree on that, then what's the benefit of bringing a totally new voice into the room to now be the coach of Jackson Dart?
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you here on Pro Football Today. There were a number of tough losses for teams on Sunday, and let me lower the tension for any Indianapolis Colts fans or backers watching. Indianapolis did not suffer the worst loss on Sunday. They are 7-2. They're still, at the moment, the number 1 seed. I'd be stunned if they weren't in the playoffs. What I mean by having a real conversation, though, is power rankings that put the Indianapolis Colts at number 1. People who slam the table. Why don't we? I mean, what about the Indianapolis Colts? Well, what about them? The Colts will be in, Joe. They're going to be in. But, I mean, lifeless Steelers defense all of a sudden, looked like the steel curtain out there. They were flying around to the football. Daniel Jones found the wrong team, not 1, not 2, but 3 times here. I don't think at any moment I consider the Indianapolis Colts as the AFC favorites. And I think from this moment on, no one will consider the Indianapolis Colts as AFC favorites. We can end that charade.
No, you can. I mean, I don't think anybody at the start of the year thought they were going to be a 14-win football team.
No.
Right, but I think...
No. 48 hours ago, maybe.
Come on. Come on. I mean, come on. We all. I was in the camp that Daniel Jones gave this team the best opportunity to go to a playoff, and I was right, at least up until this point. But the loss yesterday and the loss on Sunday doesn't hurt them in any big picture type of situation. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, this team is trending to be, let's say, 12-5. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's over-exceeding expectations by 5 games in the preseason market. So
I want to, if I'm being unfair.
No, you're not.
Indianapolis is going to smash expectations. Steichen is coach of the year. I thought Steichen should have won coach of the year the season.
First year that
D'Amico, yes, when D'Amico won it. He had Gardner Minshew as his quarterback the whole season.
Winning QB.
Okay. I think Taylor is still understandably your OPOY favorite, even though I think it should probably be. Again, my point is, in an open AFC with a Bills team who has still been a little uninspiring, a 5-4 Kansas City, a Bo Nix-led Denver, there were some people saying, come on, Colts, it's the Colts. Why do we believe in the Colts?
Right.
Number 1 team in football. They're not that.
No.
And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
No,
but they're not that. Like, Joe, to be honest, like, they're still sat there with the 3rd best odds. And I don't know. Should they really be shorter than Baltimore?
Well,
I said this to some of our guys before the weekend. If the Colts and the Ravens played on a neutral, Baltimore would be the favorite. Do you disagree with that?
No. I just think
Someone told me it would be like Colts -7 back there.
No, come on. No. But again, they're more consistent than any team that we've seen up until this point. And even though they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, that was a must-win for Pittsburgh.
No doubt.
They had to stop the bleeding.
But
they had to stop the bleeding after getting abused by Green Bay, right? Yeah. Everybody wanted to pencil in Aaron Rodgers and Pittsburgh as the most dominant team. We told you so, and they are what they are. They're a team that can maybe at times overexceed expectations and get you a win, and then they get smacked around by more physical teams in the conference. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And again, I still think they're trending to be a 7-win football team, but they were able to get the victory over Indianapolis. Indianapolis went on a heater. Does this deter where they're moving forward? I will say, when you look at their schedule, the Colts, it's not going to be easy, Kev. They play Houston, I believe, twice, Jacksonville, the 49ers. They do get the Falcons in their next game. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not easy.
Seattle, Kansas City, both on the road.
I mean, that's a gauntlet of a schedule the rest of the way. So they got the easy games potentially out of the way, and they're on their way to maybe a 10-win season. But they're really going to have to play their A game in the second half.
Well, if you look right now, their win total in the market is 11.5. Right.
So that's 5 more wins.
Yeah.
Okay, Falcons, you want to say they split with the Jags?
Well, I'll say this.
The way 49ers are playing.
They're going to be favored, we know, in Atlanta. They will be favored at home versus Houston, Jacksonville, undeniably. But, Joe, honestly, with the Jags and the Texans,
Seattle?
I don't know what to make with the Jags and the Texans.
They can lose, realistically, every game outside the Falcon game.
There's a lot of tough games there.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. There's a lot of, but again, that's just why I want to pull back with Indianapolis. That's all. I think let's just not do this thing where we go, they're 7. Like I said, every year there is a team whose record forces them into a conversation that they don't belong in, right? And that's where we were headed with Indianapolis. I'll say though, on the Pittsburgh side, Joe, you say I still think they're heading to 7 wins. Market right now has them pretty confidently over 8.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, their last 3 games, the loss to Cincinnati and the win against the Colts specifically, they've told me they're the same team they are every single year, which means they're going to win 9 games. So the pressure is still on Baltimore. Again, I don't think Pittsburgh is a world beater. But in the same way that everybody right now Steelers will get swept by the Ravens. No, they won't. Baltimore will lose one of those games. Of course they will. Of course they will. That's who Baltimore is. That's who Pittsburgh is. They will find 4 wins on this schedule.
Yeah, I mean, if realistically you could give them the Bengals, you can give them the Dolphins, you can give them the Browns.
No, who they are, though, Joe, is, and I'm not predicting exactly this, but who they are is to beat Baltimore on the road and then lose the Monday night game to Miami. That's who they are.
Right. I mean, they've done it. They lost to the Patriots a couple of years ago on a primetime spot.
Right.
To Bailey Zappi.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that was your game of the year.
7.5 point favorites. We've seen them lose games down the stretch.
No doubt.
And I'm still not sold that Pittsburgh has this identity offensively. I think it's a mismatch. One day Aaron Rodgers looks great. The other day they can't run the football. Well, then all of a sudden Jaylen Warren breaks out like he did against the Colts with a couple of touchdowns. You say, can it continue? But defensively, they're an aging group that at times shows up like they were in their 20s. But, the rest of the way, I don't think Pittsburgh has a dominant defense, and I'm not buying into them big picture.
No.
I would buy into the Chargers and Denver more than them.
Again, I think Pittsburgh's threat is potentially holding Baltimore out of the postseason, not much more than that. Now, there are a number of different things that we can get into within, this slate, and we will still talk about the losses for the top of the North with Green Bay and Detroit. But those 2 losses, Indianapolis here, even Kansas City, dogs were barking on Sunday after there was a lot of talk about favorites the week prior. How to handle the market and what we saw yesterday, we'll tell you about here on SportsGrid.
what have the Jays done all season long? And you've seen it, Kev, as a fan of the AL East. They get murdered or lose a heartbreaking game and come back and punch you in the face. They're not. It's what like the old Jays team used to fold, and that's what I used to hate about them. These guys are different. They're like guys you go to war with. It's like, man, you're my buddy. Like, let's go. Like, their clubhouse dynamic, I've never seen a Blue Jay team where everyone gets along.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Apparently, he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
I think a divorce is coming. I don't think LeBron finishes the year with the LA Lakers. And the trump card he tried to play has backfired on him big time. And I'm here for all the smoke. I got my marshmallows. I got my skewers. I got the fireplace. I'm going to sit back, kicking my feet, and watch the LA dysfunction play out in real time.
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, you know, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
With you right here on SportsGrid, Joe Lisi. I am Kevin Walsh. And, Joe, I think it's always it's nice when we have an opportunity to reset and just look at where the market is going, right? Like, we talk a lot about the individual game and what our takeaway is, but when you kind of throw everything into one big pot, right? 2 weeks ago, and this is stuff right up your alley, favorites dominated. And it led to a lot of people saying, listen, it can be cyclical where, hey, at some point the dogs will have their day, but you got to lay it. You got to lay it. And I will say I found some of the stuff that I had recently heard from from places I respect, okay? Places where I think that they would know better. And I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, so I will not say a name to anything. But and spots where they were right. I had people like, you think Marcus Mariota is going to move the football against Kansas City? What?
He did for a half.
Well, yeah, I know. But, and then you get, well, come on. I mean, obviously, the Steelers are done for. There's no way they could hang with the Indianapolis Colts and over. Don't worry about that. The Colts are going to score 35, 40 points. There's nothing to worry about here. And then you get to yesterday, and it's a dog day. The Titans might be the worst team in the history of football, okay? They got a pick six, a punt return, and barely covered the number. But they covered the number. Jags win. Short number. Raiders cover. Falcons cover. You get some upsets, though, with big-time numbers in Minnesota and Carolina. So, Joe, do you think these are all just kind of one-week sample sizes, or are we getting to the point in the year where taking the points is going to be a little bit more valuable?
I think there's parity in the NFL and even college football. You see it. A lot of dogs bark each and every week. And I just think that when the favorites came through last weekend, that was just one of those weeks where it just lined up appropriately, right? And I just think that the rest of the way, I think from the betting market, the rest of the way, if you're going to take a favorite, you take a short favorite. Take a 2 or a 3 point favorite, like we took Green Bay on the road against Pittsburgh. Like I took San Francisco on the Giants. You take a short favorite under a field goal. Anything that's close to a touchdown or more, especially divisional games, I'm inclined to take the underdog. If it's a garbage team like the Saints or Titans in that aspect, it really is a game-to-game type of situation. But But at the end of the day, I think there's parity. Any team can be had, and that's even the best of them. The Eagles, I mean, Detroit, you name it, they could be upset on any given Sunday, and we see it. There's just the consistency and the way these teams play now, when you just think about the rules and you think about 5-6 years ago, and I keep going back to this, remember when Goff was with the Rams and the Chiefs, and they played in the Coliseum, and they had that epic 57-54 game? Where was the cover two then? Where was the two deep safeties then? You're telling me like all of a sudden we just too deep. That's it.
So
two high safeties.
So your
all
big
of a sudden.
takeaway is not enough games and then 50-40?
My takeaway is it's a copycat league.
Okay.
So we saw the change about 2 or 3 years ago where teams started to run the football, and we're seeing the evolution of the rushing attack and more ball control, that teams didn't want to just go up and down the field and put up 35 points. Some teams do, but a majority don't. And what does that mean? That means, well, on every possession, you typically have to be perfect, basically, scoring a field goal or a touchdown. That means limited possessions. That means underdogs, for the most part, are barking on each and every Sunday because of the ability, unless it's a short number. And that's what that's my takeaway.
This is for me. Again, everyone has their own method.
Yeah, what's your theory?
But I just think if you can, if you are a sides better in the NFL, take the time to know what the games are before you know what the numbers are, and think about either you can do what you make it. I don't even think you have to do what you'd make it. What you believe it will be. And try and work off of that, right? I think you get so much occasionally, Joe. And listen, I know, but you'll get the why is this? Or it's so light, and it's like, well, what if you wrote it down and you had a guess of what it would be, and you'd have something to work
do each
off
and every
of, Joe.
week.
Like Green Bay, Carolina.
Yeah.
Come on, 13.5. That is a lot. Now, listen, similarly, I took 14.5 with New Orleans. I'm not saying it's foolproof, right? Sometimes teams get smashed. But instead of, 13.5, or have a baseline going in, Green Bay is going to win by 1 million, and then you're laying the number regardless of it. I think that works a little bit better.
And they're all, the perception is they're great.
Yeah.
Dominant.
Speaking, though, of some big losses, Green Bay or Detroit? Panic for both? We'll talk about it next. There's a far longer track record of the Chiefs laying huge numbers and not covering them with Mahomes than anything on the contrary.
And they did that a lot last year where they didn't cover those numbers, but a lot of the time last year they didn't have Rice and they weren't fully healthy, and now they are fully healthy. And now we have an offense that has 4 viable receivers, 2 tight ends, and 2 running backs.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They didn't panic. They played like a championship team. They came back and destroyed them, probably cost Brian Kelly his job at least a week earlier than it might have happened before. But the fact is they are playing great. But like I say, I like the talent level of all those teams. And I think if you want to have a little bang for your buck and play around with a team that could slide in, Ole Miss might be that team.
The Bowden Blitz. Only on SportsGrid.
The governor calls you out in the football state, you're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor, because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
We're back with you right here on SportsGrid. It is Pro Football Today, and there were a pair of upsets that, I'll be honest, made me smile. It did. It did. Is it because I had Carolina catching 13 and a hook and a Vikings team total over, because my good pal Joe Lisi was all over the Minnesota Vikings? A little bit. But it was because, in large part, due to the Philadelphia Eagles being told time and time again that the obvious two best teams from people and the market are Detroit and Green Bay, to which I say, well, now what? I mean, I don't know if a team's ever had a better bye week than the Philadelphia Eagles. But this isn't, I guess, about Philly. I mean, it is a little bit, because it's about the top of the NFC. The thing, Joe, is if either one of these teams could have avoided this disastrous result, they would be sat there feeling pretty great about themselves because of what happened to that other team. So pick one. Which loss was more concerning to you?
Green Bay. I mean, when you lose Tucker Kraft, your main offensive weapon, that's a huge detriment to that offensive attack moving forward. Yeah. I'm sorry. And again, Detroit played a team that had their backs against the wall in Minnesota, that had a do-and-die situation with a divisional matchup, and again, a team that had not responded defensively in recent weeks, even with their backup quarterback, Carson Wentz. And you saw J.J. McCarthy make plays, and they stepped up, and they got back, and they stopped the bleeding, just like some other teams did on Sunday afternoon. But when you lose your main offensive weapon on a team that doesn't have, at this point, a legitimate number one. Is it Jaden Reed when he's healthy? Is it Christian Watson? Is it Romeo Doubs? Is it, I mean, go through the list. Dontavian Wicks. I mean, the only pure option for Jordan Love was Tucker Kraft, and now he's going to be sidelined. And what is this team doing and moving forward? I think they got exposed by Carolina in the loss to a certain capacity, that when you shut down Josh Jacobs and you shut down the rushing attack, there you go. They are what they are, and they could potentially be had. I don't think they're on the same level as Philadelphia in any capacity.
So I agree with you that it is Green Bay, because the thing that I worry the most about, I think, with the Packers has shown up in each of their losses, and the tie, which is a critical Jordan Love turnover that just flips the game. And he had the interception against Cleveland that I truly think is the entire reason they lost. The strip sack fumble against Dallas that really reinvigorated that group. And then a costly interception yesterday against Carolina. And I think sometimes, I know we want to enjoy the journey that is an NFL season, but this Green Bay season, I mean, it's already played out. They're going to be great. They're going to beat up some teams. They're going to get some good wins. Their next game is Philly. They might win that game.
No, come on.
Oh, they might win the game. Joe, their season will end with some bad Jordan Love turnovers, the floor looking around, confused as all get out, and that's what it's going to be. I don't see this team crossing the finish line.
No, me neither.
I'd be stunned if they crossed the finish line.
If they played Philly 20 times, Philly's winning 18 of those games.
I don't agree with that, but that's okay.
I do.
That's okay. Listen, again, I've said it. People, look, I'm the most unbiased man in the history of sports media. You're the Philly guy. That's what it is.
No. I look
You're
at
the
things,
Philly guy.
I look at it realistically. I look at, if I'm putting money down, which team it steps up when it matters, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well,
It's not Green Bay unless they're playing Dallas.
That's a good point.
It's not Green Bay unless they're playing the Cowboys in a playoff game.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, their claim to fame and why they're given so much love is because they beat Dak Prescott a couple of years ago as a 6.5-point road dog.
Yeah.
When they faced off against Philly last year, the offensive and defensive lines got smacked in the mouth. Do you think they're any better? Okay, people who say Micah Parsons. Okay, yeah, Micah Parsons has looked good in certain situations. But do we think that Green Bay, on a consistent basis, is any better than what they are last year? I don't think so. I don't.
Listen, I hear you. I feel as if, again, for Green Bay to have losses, they have a loss that their two losses are 16-13 and 13-10.
And let's not forget the 40-40 tie where Dallas put up second half numbers on that team.
Yes, again, but the game was also about to be 14-0, and then the block, or 17-0. The block that again. But then a Jordan Love right before half gets a strip sack fumble, Pickens into the end zone, and flip the whole game on its head. I feel for the Packers. It is very obvious, though. I did not have them in the playoffs prior to the Micah Parsons trade. The reasons I didn't have them in the playoffs, I put them in the playoffs post Micah trade. But those same reasons are why I don't believe in them winning the Super Bowl. For Detroit, Joe, it's very interesting. But Jared Goff is on pace to be sacked the most times in his career, coming off of 5 sacks yesterday against Minnesota. But that one, albeit a bad loss, a third loss, by the way, now for the Lions.
Right.
It does feel a little bit more about Minnesota and a little bit more about that group coming to life around J.J. McCarthy, because to the Vikings' credit, while it's like, they jumped all over him, down 7-0, game was tied at 14-14, that's not necessarily how it went. That was a very good win by the Vikings.
Yeah, I think the perception, again, we go back to the last time these teams played, and that was the game where Sam Darnold and Minnesota crumbled.
Yeah.
And I think the perception was, in this spot with J.J. coming back from a long hiatus, this offense wouldn't be able to move the football. Detroit would just have their way because other teams have against Brian Flores in recent weeks. And this, we talk about divisional matchups with an above-average defense.
Yeah.
They're going to be in it in some aspects. They had to step up, and they found their way. And credit J.J. McCarthy, credit Kevin O'Connell, because in must-win type of situations in the regular season, he has found a game plan to outcoach potentially teams like, Detroit. I'm not saying he did it last year, but teams like Detroit. And this is what they do. Now, they're going to have to maintain that just to get to a playoff. But if they play the way they did offensively with McCarthy, they have a legitimate shot at a 10 or 11-win season.
Yeah, see, again, I don't know if it's going to go that far. I think it's about this team finding their level, right? As someone who's on a Vikings team total yesterday, it's just, I do think that O'Connell is a good coach, right? And I think he can coach offense. They have time to find out what McCarthy is going to be for this team. I mean, I will say, he clearly wants it, right? What I mean is, he wants to be the face of the franchise, that leader. He's ready for the challenge. We'll see if he can actually meet that moment. If I can just pull back to the Lions for a second, Joe.
Right.
Jared Goff's passer rating is a 115. I think it's the second or third best in football, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look through some of the Goff numbers, there's these big disparities with the more advanced. His Pro Football Focus grade is awful. His QBR is much worse. Like yesterday, he had a 108.4 passer rating, but a 44.4 QBR. I don't use any of those things as a gospel, but it matches what I'm seeing. I get it, right? 284, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Joe, he did not play that well yesterday.
No.
And I do not think Jared Goff has played that well this season. I really don't.
But again, Jared Goff is effective when he has a clean pocket and the rushing attack is consistent.
When the world is his oyster.
Well,
when it's all gift wrap for him, in a way they pretended it was for
But he's similar
Hurts.
to Matt Stafford and some of the other. But he's similar to Matt Stafford and all the other prototypes.
No, he's not similar to Matt Stafford. Stafford is much better for him. That's why the Rams did what they did.
Okay.
It's true, though.
Okay, but I'm just all right. We've seen, I get you want. I think Goff is just as good at times as Stafford. I really believe that.
At moments.
Yes.
When he's hitting, Gibbs 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage,
obviously,
and he does
Stafford
everything.
has the Super Bowl. I'm not taking away from that.
Right.
What I'm saying is, they're similar in that you pressure the pocket up front.
Yeah.
They crumble.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to get them off his mark. They're not as consistent as they are. They're similar in that aspect.
So often, when we try and figure out this league, which quarterbacks do we trust, right? And I think we come off do you trust Jordan Love? Do you trust Jared Goff? Do you trust Joe Flacco? Do you trust that Cincy defense? The craziest game of the year. We'll break it down next. There's a far longer track record of the Chiefs laying huge numbers and not covering them with Mahomes than anything on the contrary.
And they did that a lot last year where they didn't cover those numbers, but a lot of the time last year they didn't have Rice and they weren't fully healthy, and now they are fully healthy. And now we have an offense that has 4 viable receivers, 2 tight ends, and 2 running backs.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They didn't panic. They played like a championship team. They came back and destroyed them, probably cost Brian Kelly his job at least a week earlier than it might have happened before. But the fact is they are playing great. But like I say, I like the talent level of all those teams. And I think you want to have a little bang for your buck and play around with a team that could slide in. Ole Miss might be that team.
The Bowden Blitz. Only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in a football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on Pro Football Today. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm with Joe Lisi, recapping the Sunday that was. It was a really fun Sunday.
No, it was. We had a skin of our teeth. We got the over in Jacksonville and Las Vegas, and I never thought I would get that at half. How about that Cam Little? Drug test him, baby. Drug test him.
Now, when at the end of the day, just quickly, your best bet, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that was a pure winner? Like, you feel good about that? Deserved the whole way?
I'm not gonna. I was yelling at the TV when I said I can't believe we got basically almost 26 minutes of the first half and no scoring.
Yep.
But when Cam Little hit that field goal, I felt rejuvenated. I said, we have a shot. I started doing the math.
Great.
And we got it as low in-game, 28.5 total. And we bought it straight through 31-32. So.
Bye. Listen,
bye.
At some point, something's got to happen.
They were going up and down the field, Kev. I don't know if you watched the game. They were moving the ball between the 30s. It was just, penalty. And let me tell you, the refs, every penalty on Jacksonville in the first half, every single one.
Yeah. Listen, it was a fun game. A lot of rushing touchdowns on the Jacksonville side, but none for ETN. Geno threw 4 touchdowns in the football game. Brock Bowers looked amazing. He had 3 scores himself. But that game, from a chaos perspective, an overtime, a 1-point final, didn't come close to Chicago and Cincinnati. And I guess, perhaps, the crazier the game, the more you allow frustration in the locker room, and maybe you're going to, hear some things and some comments that you typically wouldn't otherwise. So here is Chase Brown following Cincinnati after another very tough loss.
We just got to play complimentary football. Like, we put the ball in the end zone and go up a point at the end, finish the game. Like, just end it. Like, that's it. Like, that's what we need to do. Just end the game. Like, make them get us the ball back. Let us go to 22 victory and let's end the game. That's how I feel. Any playmaker on this team, any position, like, we're all willing to do whatever it takes to win. We just got to finish. I think that's like what you go into this bye week thinking and kind of repeating to yourself is just finish these damn games. Please finish them.
The video there, courtesy of James Rappian on his Twitter, at James Rappian. Joe, for Cincinnati, the defense is really the story. They gave up 576 yards of offense to the Chicago Bears, and that is coming off of a week where they gave up 502 yards to the New York Jets. On the Cincy side, what is your big takeaway from that football game?
Well, I mean, 25 seconds left on the clock. You have a 1-point lead, and you have to close it out. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, and I know as a whole, collectively, Cincinnati's defense is garbage.
Yeah.
But from a technique perspective, to allow Loveland to race 60 yards down the field because
Like
you
a
don't want to wrap up in today's game is absolutely pathetic if you're an NFL player. I'm sorry. If you don't want to tackle as a defensive back or a linebacker, get out of the league. You're basically wasting a paycheck. And that's what these guys do now. You see it at the high school level. You see it through college. You see it through the NFL. Wrap up, man. Like, I don't understand. You want to win. You're a professional athlete, but they're always worried about either injury or – but if you're worried about injury, don't play the game. Nobody is forcing you to play at an elite level. But if you're going to play at an elite level, give it 150%, especially when there's 25 seconds left on the clock and you have a 1-point lead. That was like a high school game yesterday.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It sure is.
The guy runs down the field 65 yards. I show that to the kids. You know, use that as a training tape.
A little teach tape. Look, this is the situation for me, though, Joe, right? As my Super Bowl pick was the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh.
And I said, easy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize.
I parlayed it with James Cook, season one receiving. It's a couple of bad beats.
Not right by you.
I had felt that Joe Burrow's injury is where this whole thing was lost. And then the win against Pittsburgh gave them some life. And they have now proceeded to lose 2 games where they've scored 38 points in each game. The defense without Trey Hendrickson is historically bad. It's bad when he's in. It's historically bad when he's out. Al Golden will be back in the college ranks. I don't know. I mean, give it 5 minutes. I mean, he's headed right back as a, I don't know, Notre Dame analyst or whatever he wants to be, because that's not worked out. But for Cincinnati, Joe, it's a lot more than one season not working out. You cannot keep this roster together. You can't.
Well,
I am sorry.
You can keep the big three together.
No, you can't.
You have to.
You can't. Joe, hold on a second. You believe in Joe Burrow through and through, yes?
Yeah.
Why is Joe Flacco replicating his numbers?
But Kev, come on.
Look, you get one. You get Chase. That's enough.
You're
That's enough.
You're the owner, and I'm not. Well, here's the thing.
That's got to be enough.
Zach Taylor chopped.
No doubt about it.
Get rid of him.
Yes.
All right, and draft defensive guys. That's it. You got to keep Higgins. You got to keep Chase.
No, you can't keep Higgins. I'm sorry.
You can't keep
get
Higgins.
Rid of Chase, quite frankly.
You get rid of everybody.
Yeah, listen, maybe get rid of Burrow and keep Flacco at this rate. Old man's chucking it back. I'm just saying. Quickly, Caleb, get any credit for this win?
No, none.
What?
No.
Whoa.
None.
Whoa. 3 tugs, caught one. Little do-it-all situation. Scrambling for 53?
That's it.
He had 2 receptions in this game. What a player.
He's coming into his own.
He had more catches and double the yards than James Cook. Where was that on your card?
I'll give credit. Chicago with Ben Johnson's been much improved. They have an identity where they believe they can play against anybody. Caleb has progressed in the system and has looked a much better, more polished quarterback than he did last year. You still get the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it's not as consistent week to week. He's starting to progress. He looks more mature, and that's something to be happy about. There's optimism in Chicago. Keep the consistency because they're on their way to a wild card.
There is optimism, honestly, even though I told you to say some nice things. The fact that was what it was. They actually shouldn't be all too encouraged. I think you were on it from the jump. Primetime previews next. There's a far longer track record of the Chiefs laying huge numbers and not covering them with Mahomes than anything on the contrary.
And they did that a lot last year where they didn't cover those numbers, but a lot of the time last year they didn't have Rice and they weren't fully healthy, and now they are fully healthy. And now we have an offense that has 4 viable receivers, 2 tight ends, and 2 running backs.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They didn't panic. They played like a championship team. They came back and destroyed them, probably cost Brian Kelly his job at least a week earlier than it might have happened before. But the fact is they are playing great. But like I say, I like the talent level of all those teams. And I think if you want to have a little bang for your buck and play around with a team that could slide in, Ole Miss might be that team.
The Bowden Blitz. Only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, you know, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Primetime preview here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi. Any final thoughts from the Sunday slate? Maybe a Niners victory lap?
I think the Niners, with all the injuries, and they're going to have to deal with another one with Michael Williams going down yesterday.
Yeah, my gosh.
I mean, as long as they have Christian McCaffrey, as long as they have Mac Jones healthy, depending upon when Purdy comes back, they can win football games.
What about the perfect first half from Darnold? I think it was 16-16, 4 scores.
Again, Sam Darnold.
Jaden, though,
Sam
injured in the
Darnold
process.
is like Baker Mayfield. The change of scenery has done him well. The offensive line protects him. He looks like he knows where he wants to go with the football, and they have an identity and a physicality about them. When they can run the football with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, they are very difficult to defend, and that defense with McDonald looks similar to what he built in Baltimore.
I always thought their defense was going to be really good. I was worried about Darnold behind a tough O-line and a downgrade in weapons, because he was leaving Justin Jefferson. Jackson Smith-Njigba has been the best receiver in football this year. I think he should be the offensive player of the year favorite. That's not a slight
He
to
had a
Jonathan Taylor.
98.5 number in that game. What did he catch? 11 for 129?
It just didn't matter. His 4th consecutive game with 8 grabs, 129 yards. He's averaging 16 yards a catch, which doesn't even feel possible. He's 52 yards away from 1,000. They've only played 8 games, by the way. They've already had their bye week.
And it's amazing that we looked at this roster and we said, it's him and everybody else. But they still can't cover him.
No, it's
incredible.
The only thing is, and I didn't, because it didn't matter, but Collinsworth kept saying, you see how the run is open this up. They're so focused on stopping the run. Stopping the run? They're averaging 4 yards a carry and 14 yards a pass. If that's the case, give Dan Quinn a shake and get everybody out of the box, kid.
Washington's defense has
Are
more
you
holes.
upset about the fact that Daniels was in that game?
No. I just, he's got multiple injuries now. The elbow.
This
it's
is
a
much different, though.
non-throwing elbow, non-throwing arm, but he's not going to play in the regular season. At least I wouldn't recommend it at this point. When he tucks it and runs, he's vulnerable. Yeah. And again, he cannot be the end-all, be-all for a rushing attack. They have Chris Rodriguez. I know he's not elite, but he's still a more physical runner than Crosby Merritt, right? And You have pedestrian running backs. They had Eckler.
No, the team is not well built around him.
They have all these aging stars. Debo. They need to draft younger. Zach Ertz at the end of his career. Eckler at the end of his career. McNichols at the. I mean, how many more?
Look, there's not.
They're like an old age
There
home.
is not a single player in sports you and I have debated about more than Jaden Daniels. You know I have been very gracious to him. I do not think they set him up for success.
But I've been, as much as I love
100%.
Jaden Daniels, I've been objective.
You've been very, especially with this Commanders team. But I just want to say this, okay, about should he have been in? Because the drive that he got injured on started with 12 and a half minutes left. See, that's a lot of time. The first play of the fourth quarter was Commanders ball at the 50, 4th and 14. They punted. At that moment right there, you said game's over.
Right.
You should not have been in if you're punting at the 50 on 4th and 14.
That's a great point. It's a great point. And again, Jaden's a competitor. And maybe he wanted to come in. He's missed some time. Maybe he did want to go up against the defense. Maybe he was, itching for stats.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but if you're Dan Quinn, that's where the coach has to take over.
I know. Well, that's, again, and that's
they're going to be – this team is done.
They're done. Dallas and Arizona tonight. Of course, Game Time Decisions is live at 6:30. So let me make sure you get all of the opportunity in here, Joe. What do you like in this game?
I lean to Arizona, and I lean to the under. And again, I don't know if it's as much of a shootout as we expect. If it is, I'll jump in from an in-game perspective. I am on Bam night. I think they need to run the football in order to win this game. I don't think they feel they could go toe-to-toe in a shootout with Dak. I did take I got a good number on Bam. It's up to 50.5. Got 48.5 to take him for an anytime touchdown. If you want out-of-the-box anytimes, took Schoonmaker, and I took Jaden Blue on the Dallas side.
Yeah, I think prop-wise this is very difficult because there's not a lick of discount on anything associated with Jacoby Brissett in at quarterback here. I also think the reports out of Arizona are incredibly confusing. Kyler Murray is not starting in this game, but they said he might have a role in this game.
What does that mean?
I couldn't agree more with your question. Because, again, you would think if he has a role, that means it's going to be to, run the football. He has a foot sprain, so he's out there to run, not throw. The situation is sneaky, not great. And I feel in Arizona with Kyler Murray, that's just my read on it. I like Dallas at 3. I think the number is light. I play the Cowboys at 3. I think everyone's off of them because of how bad things were against Denver. That's fine. Now, I'll say this. You liking under, I think, is how I understand playing Arizona. People who think Arizona are going to win this game, 35-34 Cardinals. I think that's silly.
No, if Dallas is up 10-0, it's lights off. They're over. They're cooked.
If Dallas hits 30, I'm not banking on Arizona giving you, 24, 27 points, really. Lisi, great stuff as always. Kevin Walsh, Pro Football Today.
What have the Jays done all season long? And you've seen it, Kev, as a fan of the AL East. They get murdered or lose a heartbreaking game and come back and punch you in the face. They're not. It's what like the old Jays team used to fold, and that's what I used to hate about them. These guys are different. They're like guys you go to war with. It's like, man, you're my buddy. Like, let's go. Like, their clubhouse dynamic, I've never seen a Blue Jay team where everyone gets along.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Apparently, he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I think a divorce is coming. I don't think LeBron finishes the year with the LA Lakers. And the trump card he tried to play has backfired on him big time. And I'm here for all the smoke. I got my marshmallows. I got my skewers. I got the fireplace. I'm going to sit back, kicking my feet, and watch the LA dysfunction play out in real time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, you know, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.